Hey guys, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another product review. Today's review is going to be on the Razer Huntsman Mini. This is Razer's entrance to the 60% keyboard market. This is going to be competing with the likes of the Ducky 1-2 Mini. This keyboard comes in two color variants, the white that you see here, which they refer to as a Mercury color, and it also comes in black. And at the moment it comes in two switch options, the linear optical switch, which is the Razer Reds, and then their clicky optical switch, which is their purple switch that we have here today. The purple switch version sells for $119.99 and the red optical switch sells for $129.99. So there is a $10 premium with that switch. As you can see, this keyboard looks really good. I'm actually going to unplug it for a moment. This keyboard measures in at 11.6 inches long by 4.1 inches wide. And it is also 1.5 inches deep. On the back here, you can see 4 rubber feet which keep it in place while you're using it. And it has 2 deployable feet that can change the angle of the keyboard. There's actually 2 different positions on these feet. What you see here is the 9-degree angle, which it says, if you can actually see that in there, I don't know how well the camera's gonna pick that up, but you can see there 9 degrees, and then there's 6 degrees. So you can have it flat, you can raise it up with the lower 6-degree angle, and then you can raise it up to 9 degrees, just depending on your personal preference for how tall you like your keyboard off of the desk. This keyboard does not come with extra keycaps like some of its competitors, but we can remove these here. And you can see there's the purple switch that they refer to as their clicky optical switch. They've made a couple of changes to their switches. They've added a dampener in there, and they have also lubricated them more, which is supposed to make their keyboard sound just a little bit quieter. Their older switches had a little bit of a ping to them, almost like a metallic ring sound. And for the most part, they've eliminated that. You can see here also the metal stabilizer bar right there on the side. It's stabilized on each end. That's going to provide some stabilization to the keys. One complaint that I do have that seems to be pretty common with other people who have had this keyboard as well, there's actually a little bit of wiggle in the switch itself, but these metal bars, especially the stabilizers, if you can hear that, it kind of rattles around a little bit. It can make you feel sometimes that there's something in the keyboard moving, kind of giving it a cheap feel, but once you realize that's just the stabilizer bars and they're moving around, it's really not that big of an issue. Real quick before I turn the keyboard back on, I will do a typing test. I'm going to start off by pressing the keys basically like you would normally type, just to give you a feel for how the keyboard would sound normally. And now I'll type a little bit louder, a little bit more aggressively to show you, if you are one of those gamers that pounds on the keyboard a little bit more, what that might sound like. And just to compare, I'll bring in the Ducky 1-2 Mini, which has Cherry MX Silent Reds, which are one of the quieter switches out there, just so you can kind of hear a side by side. And I am pressing on these keys with roughly the same amount of force. I'll go ahead and plug in the keyboard real quick so that we can check out the lighting effects and just talk about the typing experience on these purple Razer switches. So the build quality on this keyboard is really, really good. I mentioned some of the rattling inside, but that's not really, I don't know if you can really attribute that to build quality so much as just kind kind of an odd choice for those stabilizer bars there, but the build quality is solid. All of the keycaps are double shot PBT. They should last a really long time. Also, these are optical switches by Razer, so technically this keyboard should last you a really, really long time. The LEDs do get quite bright. This is at 100% brightness, and the keyboard itself just looks really, really good. As you can see on the front of all the keycaps, even though this is a 60% keyboard, there are actually plenty of functions that are attached to the keys themselves. You can see there you still get your page up and down, delete, home, volume, and playback controls. And those can all be accessed by holding down the function key and then hitting whatever key you're looking for. So similar to what we saw with the Ducky 1-2 Mini, even though this is a 60% keyboard, you do still retain some of those functions in there as well. Another thing I like about this keyboard is they shipped it with a braided USB-C cable. Fits in there really nicely and it won't kink up on you. So I really like that they added that in the box. As far as the typing experience goes, because ultimately that's what matters, the keys are definitely, at least for these purple keys, they're very clicky. They are quite loud. They're probably on par with, if not louder than some of the loudest switches that I have probably ever used. I would say they are at least as loud, if not louder, than the Cherry MX browns and blues. So that is something to keep in mind if you're using this in a quiet environment. At least talking specifically about the purple keys here, they are quite loud. These purple keys here have a travel distance of about 1.5 millimeters, so that is a little bit more than the Razer Reds that have a travel distance of 1 millimeter and a slightly lower activation force. These have 45 grams. The Razer Red keys have 40 grams. So a lot of people may opt for those red switches because they are just a little bit quieter than these. I would compare the Razer Red keycaps to about the sound of a Cherry MX Red switch. I would say they're very comparable, but a lot of people may opt for those Razer Reds over these purples if they want just a little bit of a quieter keyboard as well as less actuation distance, because that is going to matter when you're constantly typing on this keyboard for gaming and things of that nature. Ultimately, the keyboard feels really great to type on. And with those two switch options, the red one is going to give you a little bit of a smoother action, whereas this one, the purple switches have a little bit more of a clicky a bump in there, if you will. Definitely more of a tactile feel. If that's your thing, these purple switches are probably going to be for you. So that's pretty much it for the keyboard itself. Now we'll move over to the PC and we'll talk about that software. So after downloading the Razer software and plugging in the keyboard, this is what the software looks like. This is the Razer Synapse Chroma Studio. And you're just going to click on your device here, your keyboard, and it's going to pull this up. And this is where you can customize your keyboard. You've got here the standard layout. You can also go and switch it to Hypershift. And this allows you to essentially use almost like extra buttons on your computer. But we're going to leave this for standard. Most of you are probably going to leave this as standard. And we're going to come over to lighting. You can turn the brightness completely off. You can turn it on. You can lower or raise the brightness level. I keep mine at 100%. Here's where you're going to switch off your lighting. You can link this to your display so that when your computer turns off, your lighting turns off as well. And you can also put on a timer so that, you know, if you set this to say like 10 minutes, after your keyboard's been idle for 10 minutes, it will automatically shut off the keyboard as well. This is going to be the important part for most of you. This is where you're going to switch your effects. And you can see here there's quite a bit of options, and once you select which color pattern you want, you can choose other certain things like direction of how it flows on the keyboard. If you come down to like reactive, you can choose the color and things like that. So just to go through some of these options real quick, this is what ambient awareness looks like. Audio meter you're probably not going to see right now because what it does is it syncs up with audio coming in through your PC. So if you were to play music or something like that, it would start to light up accordingly. This is the breathing pattern. This is fire. This is reactive, which is just going to light up whenever you hit a key. And you can change the color on this one as well. This is the ripple effect, which is just going to ripple out as you touch a certain key. This is starlight, which is one of my favorites. You can choose random color, so it kind of comes on randomly. Then you've got static, which is just where you choose whichever color you want. Let's do like purple, for example. And then you've got wave. And you've got wheel, which is what some other manufacturers refer to as radar mode. And then some of the other options that you have here, you can create your own profile so that you can have different profiles for different people for their color options. If you have Amazon Alexa, you can sign in here and that opens up some additional options as well. Connect is kind of a cool tab. Here you can actually sync your keyboard with certain games. In this case, the only game that I have that's compatible is Fortnite. And this allows integration with certain games and applications. And then if you come over to devices, if you have additional Razer devices, whether it's a mouse, a headset, anything like that, you can come in here and you can actually sync your lighting across all of your different Razer devices. Studio, I won't get too much into this because frankly it can be a little complicated. This is basically an advanced lighting tab. You can come in here and you can add different effect layers, and you can see down here the adding effects menu. You can add the effects that we kind of went through earlier, and you can change the duration of the lighting changes, the individual colors. You can add different layers, and you can create your own effects here, which is kind of a cool feature if that's something that you're into. And the software is really easy to use, which is nice. Really intuitive. You can switch certain color options from the keyboard itself by pressing the function control key and then one of the numbers 1 through 9, I believe it is. And you can switch your colors that way, but a lot of times it's just easier to have a software option. This is actually one thing. If you saw my Ducky 1.2 mini review, one of the very few complaints I had is that they didn't offer a software solution to switch colors on their keyboard, which I think is really convenient when you do have that option to do. I really like what Razer's done with their website here as well. If you come down here, it'll actually tell you the difference between their two switches. It'll explain the changes that they've made to their second gen design, which includes sound dampeners and extra lubrication, which should soften up some of those sounds and make them a little bit quieter. It describes the difference in actuation distance and actuation force between the two, and it just gives a little bit of a description between the two switches, and it even has a sound clip here so that you can hear the difference between the first and second gen switches. Alright guys, and that pretty much wraps up the review. Overall, I feel like this is a really great 60% keyboard. It's got great build quality. The LED lights are super bright. It looks good. The switches feel really good. The switches are great, especially if you don't mind a little bit of a louder, clickier switch. But it feels great to type on. Ultimately, would I recommend this product? Normally, if I recommend something, it's going to be a yes or a no. This is one of the few instances where I'm going to say yes, but. And that but is, would I recommend this keyboard? Yes, I would, but I do feel like it's a little bit overpriced. That's just my opinion. And this is not a comparison video, but I can't help but feel when I look at other 60% keyboards like the Pro 2 or most certainly the Ducky 1.2 Mini, it's a very similar keyboard. Very similar in size, shape, color options. The only big difference is the switch options, Razer versus Cherry MX. That's going to be the main difference between the two keyboards. And something like the Ducky 1.2 Mini comes with extra keycaps packaged as well, and it's $20 to $30 depending on which switch option you're going for. It's $20 to $30 cheaper than this. Who I would recommend this keyboard for is someone who already has Razer products and really values that RGB integration between them. If you've already got like a Razer headset and a Razer mouse, then this would be cool to pick up so that you can integrate all those RGB options together, sync them all up. Or if you just like Razer as a company and you prefer maybe their warranty or their customer service, then I could see you paying extra for this one right here. Or maybe you've had a Razer keyboard in the past and you really do just prefer their switches that much more, then this is going to be the keyboard for you. For what it's worth, this is a great keyboard. It feels great to type on. The build quality is great. It's going to last you a really, really long time. But when you do take in that price factor, maybe you should look at a different keyboard unless you fall into one of those categories that I was talking about previously. Ultimately, as a consumer, you've got to be the one to determine what you spend your money on. And if you buy this at $120 or $130, you're probably going to be pretty happy with it. I've really enjoyed my short time with it. And that pretty much wraps up the review. If you guys found this review useful or interesting, please hit the thumbs up button on the video. If you guys would like to see other content like this, such as stream tutorials and product reviews, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you guys have any questions or comments about this review or the product itself, be sure to drop those in the comments section down below. And always, if you guys would like to chat with me in real time, I go live on twitch.tv/murphfrags 6 or 7 nights a week, usually around 9:30 Eastern. I can answer any questions over there about my reviews or help you set up your stream. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. YouTube, we'll catch you later.